The 2026 Indianapolis 500 wasn't won by the fastest car on every single lap, but by the team that understood the race's underlying edge. Pato O'Ward's Arrow McLaren outfit mastered fuel conservation and tire management with clinical precision. From the moment the green flag dropped, O'Ward executed a strategy of disciplined efficiency, a stark contrast to the aggressive early charges from several frontrunners. Felix Rosenqvist, for instance, pushed his Meyer Shank racing machine hard, showing blistering pace and leading significant portions of the early race. But that speed came at a cost. Rosenqvist's car was consistently burning fuel at a higher rate, and his tires were degrading faster than O'Ward's, evidenced by his team's earlier calls for fresh rubber. This wasn't a subtle difference. It was a measurable gap in resource consumption that would compound over 500 grueling miles, creating a strategic chasm between the contenders. O'Ward, meanwhile, maintained a calculated rhythm, consistently hitting precise fuel numbers lap after lap and managing his tire wear with surgical precision. This allowed his team to stretch stints longer than many of their direct competitors, often by 2 to 3 laps. While other teams were forced to pit earlier or consider an extra stop, O'Ward's car stayed on track, gaining crucial track position without needing to make risky, high-stakes overtakes in traffic. David Malukas, driving for Dale Coyne Racing, also demonstrated flashes of speed, battling inside the top 10 for much of the middle segment. However, his team struggled to find the same consistent efficiency, particularly in managing tire fall-off during long green flag runs, often losing ground in the latter half of a stint. The edge for O'Ward showed up in every lap. Fewer pit stops, less time lost in the pits, and crucially, fresher tires when it mattered most. This strategic discipline was the undeniable foundation of his eventual victory. The pivotal shift in the 2026 Indy 500 wasn't a dramatic on-track pass or a late race caution. It was the relentless, quiet execution of O'Ward's strategy, combined with his own disciplined driving. The key adjustment wasn't a mid-race setup change, but O'Ward's unwavering ability to hit precise fuel targets lap after lap, even under the immense pressure of leading the biggest race in the world. This allowed his Arrow McLaren team to execute a race plan that required fewer pit stops than several of his primary competitors. While Felix Rosenqvist's team was forced into an earlier final stop due to higher fuel burn, O'Ward extended his stint, creating a critical window. This strategic advantage was amplified by the Arrow McLaren pit crew. Their performance in the pits was flawless. O'Ward's average pit stop time was 0.4 seconds faster than the field average across his final 3 stops. This might sound marginal, but over 3 stops, it accumulated into a 1.2-second advantage in pit lane alone. Combined with the extended stints, this translated directly into a cumulative gain of over 15 seconds of track position that O'Ward never relinquished. He built an unassailable lead in the final 50 laps, converting strategic gains into a tangible gap on the track. David Malukas, who had shown promising pace, saw his chances evaporate with a slow final stop that cost him several positions and any hope of a podium finish. The numbers tell the story. O'Ward's consistent efficiency and his team's flawless execution didn't just give him an advantage, they created an insurmountable lead, turning a tight race into a dominant performance in the closing stages. The consequence for the rest of the field, particularly those who challenged O'Ward early, is stark and undeniable. Felix Rosenqvist, despite leading 40 laps and showing blistering speed that put him at the front for significant portions, saw his pace drop significantly in the final 20 laps. His tires, pushed hard earlier in the race to maintain track position, simply could not maintain grip, causing him to fall from contention and ultimately finish outside the top 5. David Malukas, after a strong mid-race charge that saw him climb into the top 5, lost critical ground due to a less efficient fuel strategy and a final pit stop that was nearly a full second slower than O'Ward's. These weren't isolated incidents or bad luck. They were direct results of a race management philosophy that couldn't match Arrow McLaren's meticulous planning and execution. For teams like Meyer Shank Racing and Dale Coyne Racing, the problem is now clear and pressing. Raw pace is not enough at Indianapolis. They need to solve the endurance puzzle, finding a way to combine outright speed with the strategic discipline and consistent execution that O'Ward and Arrow McLaren demonstrated from start to finish. It's not just about horsepower or a single fast qualifying lap. It's about optimizing every single mile, every drop of fuel, and every tire rotation over 500 grueling miles. The next time they line up on the grid at the Brickyard, they won't just be chasing O'Ward's car on track. They'll be chasing his team's entire race management philosophy, needing to find answers to the strategic questions that O'Ward's dominant victory has now posed for the entire Indy car paddock. This is the new benchmark.